Welcome to USMLESarthi. We are committed to empowering IMGs. We're excited to guide you on your match journey. Don't forget to click subscribe and turn on notifications so you can get notified whenever we add new content. Also, follow us on Instagram and Twitter for the latest tips and tricks regarding everything USMLE. Now, let's dive into it.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone present here. A warm welcome to each and every one of you joining us today for this webinar focused on the interview day and the post-interview strategies. I think till now, most of you have received the interviews, or maybe you must be waiting for more interviews by this January, right? I wish you all the very best for all the IMGs who received the interview till now. And now, as we say, like interview is done. Now you must be thinking what to do now, what we have to do, what task we have to do, how to communicate with the programs, or we shouldn't communicate with programs. So all these strategies which can increase your chances to match. So there are some tasks which we have to do. There are some do's and don'ts which is must after giving the interviews. So now I would like to invite Mr. Pawan Khera, who is the chief mentor of Sarthi, who already helped more than 7,000 IMGs to match into their dream residencies, right? So he is having a vast experience and helping IMGs what to do, what not to do. So let's give him a big round of applause and welcome, Pawan. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Swati, and welcome everyone as we get through the last phase of this season. And, many of you, as Swati said, may be preparing for interviews, may have already done the interviews. So we were receiving a lot of questions specifically on the interview day and what to do after. So the purpose of this webinar is to go over both. And a bit of a housekeeping, you can put questions in the chat and we'll go over that. But first, I want to just address some of the questions we've been receiving on our Telegram, YouTube, and Facebook. So as probably all of you know, the interview process actually begins when you receive the invite. So how you communicate with the program from there on makes a lot of difference. So communication is the key, whether it is an on-site interview or the digital interview, right? And one of the best strategies you can use is to think like a program director. Put yourself in shoes of the PD and see what things are important to that particular program director. Why should a PD select you? That is the big mindset change you need to make. It is not about what you say to them, it is what they want to hear. And then you got to align it with your strengths. So for example, not a lot of programs will ask you directly, how do you fit in the program? What are your strengths? And the best way to answer such questions is to have a lot of examples from your work experience, from your USCE ready, that you can then put in the questions as you go with the flow of the interview. So whether it is, tell me a time when you had end of life discussion with a patient, tell me a time when you failed as a leader or when you succeeded as a leader and all that. So there are about 70 to 80 interview questions, and our team helps students on that as well. But the point is, you need to have at least 10 to 15 such examples ready that you can articulate in the interview. So that's one. Second, a lot of questions are coming out on research. Should I be talking about my research? Do community programs like research? So on and so forth. So research is becoming increasingly important. Even community programs would want to see research on your CV and talk about it. Of course, the extent of discussion will vary by the specialty. So neurology may be slightly bigger on research, FM may be slightly less on research, but don't ignore research. If you have it on your CV, you are expected to talk about it. You should be able to articulate your particular role in research. A lot of times what we see is students have done some projects in groups and they have no idea and they just write the introduction. So that's something you really, really need to be aware of. The second trend that we are seeing in this season is a lot of scenario-based questions. So either they can give you a scenario, and we practice a lot of scenario with our students. So they can give you a scenario, hypothetical scenario, you are an inpatient service and all that. So then they ask you to decide how you will approach, or they will ask you a question, tell me a time when you did this, right? So scenario-based questions are becoming important. So if you, there is a list of all these questions on our website, which you can look up for free, but primarily it is the practice, it is the personalized responses that you should be working on. And maybe Swati can send you a link if you're still working on your interview preparation, and you can see some of our videos. That also reminds me, for those of you who are looking for rotations or maybe planning for next season, we have a lot of free rotations that we have worked with our partners who help us with rotations. So every week we are posting some free rotations. So you can take advantage of these rotation opportunities by applying. They are completely free. You just have to pay the application fee, but everything else is going to be free. So there is no, $1,000, $1,500, whatever you can save. And by the way, I'm just starting a poll to see how many of you are applying next season or have applied this season. So it helps us, answer your questions appropriately. So take a bit of a second to answer that poll. Then on the interview day, the other important thing is when the PD is making the presentation or others are making the presentation, or you are going for a morning round, etc., they will give out a lot of information. You really need to make sure you're not repeating it in the interview. So a lot of times, this is the other thing, students ask us, what questions can I ask, right? So do not repeat the stuff that they've already told you in the morning. So you have to be clear. The questions you ask vary. What you ask the program director is different from what you may ask the attending versus what you may ask a resident. So there's again a list of questions on our website, and we do that in our classes as well, right? So residents in the meet and greet, you can actually ask about what did they like about the program, and why did they rank the program, etc. All that is a fair game to the residents. Don't ask the program director questions that are cookie cutter in terms of, are there financial issues in the program, or even the vision of the program. So you first have to understand why you're asking a question before you ask it. So a lot of students ask the question without thinking because they have a list. So research the program before you ask these questions. Then, the main thing, post interview. So we have done a lot of videos on the actual interview questions and how the day goes, but I want to switch to the post interview strategy, right? So the first thing you have to understand about post interview strategy, if the program has told you do not communicate with us, then don't communicate with them, right? So your ability to follow directions is important. If they have told you don't do it, then don't do it. But otherwise, post-interview communication is important. If the program has no issue with it, it can show you are interested in the program. Absolutely, right? But remember, if the program has interviewed 300 applicants, then everyone is writing the same kind of email. So how do you differentiate yourself uh, after the interview and before the rank order deadline, in terms of your communication, in terms of highlighting the specifics that were discussed in the interview, in terms of highlighting your ties to the city, for example, or even to the program if you rotated there. All these become important and they can help you differentiate from other applicants who may also be communicating with the program. So the personalized approach is important and you should follow that. But the other question we get is it absolutely required to do post interview communication? So it's not going to be a make or a break, right? It is a program is not going to judge you just because you didn't write an email or wrote an email. That's because you had a letter of intent versus you didn't have a letter of intent. Majority of your rank is already been decided based on your profile, the scores and everything, and the interview performance. So these things are important, and we will have a separate webinar on rank order list. But suffice it to say today that it is good to have post-interview communication, but that is not a make or a break. It's always courteous to send thank you emails after the interview and all that. But again, if you have not done it, if you don't have time, you don't have to worry about it. Okay. Then the other thing post-interview which can help is always keep the program updated with your plans between now and the rank order list. So for example, it could be step 3, right? If you've taken step 3 and have a score, or even if you will not get the score by the rank order list deadline, tell them that you have done step 3. What you are going to do doesn't really matter, but the program will expect you to do it. So for example, if you tell the program, I'm going to be doing step 3 in January, then they will note it down and you are expected to tell them that, yes, you have done it. So if you have to say something to the program, make sure you follow up on that. If you're going to do some rotation and you're going to tell them about it, make sure you kind of do that. Same with research, if you have some publication or some paper has been accepted, even if not published, so make sure the program is aware of that. Okay. So that's something you need to be aware of. Then comes the holiday. We are now in the holiday season, as all of you know. So Christmas, New Year, all that Hanukkah. Should I be sending holiday cards, emails, greetings to the programs? Yes, absolutely. You can send it. No program has ever banned that. Feel free. Everyone in this country celebrates Christmas. It is not a religious thing. So regardless of who interviewed you, what the program says, I think holiday cards, greeting cards are a fair game. You should send it. Physical cards are better to send than digital cards, as you know, emails, etc. They may or may not open. You can send both. New Year wishes, Christmas, all put together, you can send it. Okay. Then the other question we received on the post-interview strategies is the second visit. How important is the second visit, virtual or on-site? Now, if the program is inviting you, it's a good idea to go. You will hear a lot of times, the programs will tell you it is not important, it will not impact your rank order list, etc. But hey, we are giving you an opportunity to know more about the program. So if you read between the lines, they are still telling you to come. especially the programs which are in rural settings. If you have done a remote interview, they want you to visit, they want you to be comfortable. So if your time, schedule, finances permit, it is an absolutely good idea to visit the program. It is a strong networking tool. It helps you understand the program, the city, the environment, etc. And it also gives them an opportunity. Officially, of course, each program is going to say it will not matter, but you will never know. So go for it if you have an opportunity. Okay. And you can also ask them about second visit if you want. Don't wait for them to offer it to you. So if it is, let's say, your top tier, top rank program, you think you'll rank it high, or you have limited number of interviews, go ahead and ask for a second visit. Then, when you talk about middle of January, end of January to Feb, what to do, that would be the time when you send out the letter of intent. It is different from letter of interest. Letter of interest is mostly about asking for an interview, profile review, etc. Letter of intent is when you actually tell the program that you were very impressed, you want to rank them high and all that. A lot of people ask, should I be sending it now? I think it's too early because programs are still interviewing, you guys are still interviewing, and you have to make a balance. You cannot be this desperate, or the programs should not feel that, okay, you just interviewed maybe at 1 or 2 programs and you're sending the letter of intent. So letter of intent can wait another 2-3 weeks, and we will have another session on letter of intent. And then, of course, after all that happens, after you submit the rank order list, then the wait begins. And for those of you who may have applied late, may not have interviews, or others who may not match, there is still SOAP. That week, the match week also has SOAP, supplemental offer and acceptance program, where programs that have unfilled spots will be in the SOAP process, and students who have not matched can apply to those programs. So over the last 2 years, there has been big changes in the SOAP, and a lot of IMGs have matched. In fact, last season itself, I think we had about 15 of our students who matched in SOAP. We had about 20 offers in SOAP, and 15 of them matched. So if you are interested, we'll probably start SOAP advice in January, but SOAP is till about 3 to 4 years ago, SOAP was harder for IMGs to get in, but in the last 2 years, it has become a lot easier. Probably something to do with COVID, probably something to do with specialties like emergency medicine that had a lot of vacant spots. So SOAP is also a realistic possibility. The point is, don't give up now and just make it through the SOAP, and you will be surprised that yes, SOAP match can also happen. So that was a very quick answer to the questions that we received. And Swati, are there questions that students have in the chat? I mean, feel free to ask questions if you have, and I'll try to answer. We have another 10 minutes, and maybe I'll just share this result. So it's a good thing that many of you have more than 3 interviews. I think that will be a good opportunity for you to match. Make sure you are well prepared for the interviews, and if you need help, we can. Again, there are a lot of free rotations that we are offering this season. So if those of you still looking for rotations, we possibly can help you with the free rotations. Okay. Swati, what are some of the questions? I can probably
one
go
of my
for,
questions.
okay. I think I can see them. So let me just go through the questions from the bottom. Possibility of matching with 7 interviews. Again, depends on the specialty, depends on the profile. NRMP publishes these statistics. I don't think you should worry too much about these statistics. In general, 7 interviews, if it is IM, is good. But remember, everything boils down to your preparation. And our students prepare in groups, and they have a separate group for preparation. But 7 interviews is absolutely a good number. Means your profile is liked by the program. Psychiatry, you said. I think it'll be a good match with 7 interviews. If you have, say, research, psychiatry looks for research step 3, but without knowing your profile, hard to say. Letter of intent, like I said, we will have another webinar in about 2 weeks, and then we can talk about how many programs you should send to and all that. If a program says, do not communicate with us, don't send them letter of intent. So Hussein, I think you had this question. I received last interview invite in the first week of November and finished all my 6 interviews. So 6 interviews is still a good number. Start networking with those programs. I think it'll be a good shot with 6 interviews. Can we still expect interviews in January for pathology? So this is a good question, right? Till when can you expect the interviews? What is happening is post this virtual interviews, post COVID, students typically do not cancel the interviews. I have students sitting on 30 interviews, 35 interviews, they don't cancel, but there still may be students accepting pre-match. There may be programs that open up more spots. So yes, you can expect some interviews in January. I think the extent of interviews will vary on the specialty and cancellation. Okay. Questions: if a program email that due to unfortunate reason they have to reschedule the interview to January, should I worry? Well, you don't know the reason, so don't worry about it. As long as they give it to you in January, you don't have to worry. If it's a program growing into match, whether you interview in January or December should not worry, should not matter. If it is a pre-match program, then of course earlier is better. Post-interview, is there a recommended communication with pre-match programs? Yes, of course. Pre-match programs work the same way. In fact, they want to fill up their spots more, quickly, as you can imagine. So yes, absolutely make sure to tell them that you are very interested, and it has to come out in the interview. Post-interview communication is just one tool to add to what you discussed in the pre-match program interview. Okay. So Meena is saying, do we have free tele-rotations? And the answer is yes. And Swati, maybe you can post the link. In fact, we are starting with 2 tele-rotations for free in January or later this month. So it's already up on the website. So go to our website. So Swati, maybe that link you can let's see what else.
So one question, like each one of them is having the same question. Chances of getting matched with less interview or 1 or 2 interviews?
So yes, so I think it's a very subjective questions. It depends on the profile, right? There are times when you're a 250 in both steps, but you didn't do well in your PSC. We may have applied late, so you got less number of interviews, but you have a good, strong profile, and you did, prepared well. So obviously, the more the number of interviews, the better your chances are. But I think a lot depends on your profile, and a lot depends on how well you prepare for the interview. I think confidence is the key. Every year we have students who match with 1 or 2 interviews. So it is not that you cannot match with 1 or 2 interviews. I think it all depends on the preparation. Higher number is a better number, but we've had students match with 1 or 2.
So following question to that, so if they have less interviews, so what they should do now? Whether they can get
So
more
I
interviews?
think That's another good question. For people who are still looking for interviews, like I said, there may be some cancellation interviews coming in January, right? We don't know how many, but there may still be numbers. So I think it will be a good idea to follow up, still continue to follow up with the program for interviews in at least the first 2 or 3 weeks for January. Call them, email them, activate your network if not done. And so hopefully you can get more interviews. If not, soap is still there. The season has not ended, season does not end. So the soap week, like I said, is very critical. So in addition to trying to get the interviews, make sure, if you are doing rotations, get a new LOR. If something is published, make sure you have it ready. So new LORs and these things continue to work. If you are in your home country, continue to do rotations, because during the soap week everything will matter. If you've done a new rotation, you can upload that LOR. You can obviously update your personal statement with changes you have made. Maybe you have done step 3. All those things will come to matter in soap. So don't don't worry about it. Soap can be a very, very productive tool for you.
So another question, which is very common for all the IMGs, like they are worried about the visa. So they should ask visa questions during the interview, or how they should communicate?
I don't think visa question, should be asked in the interview. It's a post-interview discussion, unless the program really says, which visa do you want, and you have to show them the most flexibility. A lot of you are already on J1 for research. You obviously cannot accept H1, so you have to go for J. If the program offers both, you assess your chances. If you are a weaker profile, J is always a good option than H, because there is a limitation on the number of H1Bs a program will sponsor. And Swati, there is a question on how to apply for the Hackensack 6 months program. Yes. So if you can,
I'll connect.
And again, like I said, letter of intent is going to be in our next webinar. So hold on to your questions of letter of intent. It is too early. Don't worry about letter of intent at that point. If I get a pre-match offer on psychiatry in a state that I do not like, but I have better states on other interviews, should I accept it? If you are our student, set up time with me if you get a pre-match offer. Otherwise, of course, it depends on a lot of factors. You have step 3, 17 publications, 6 interviews, but if you really hate the state, maybe you can accept, don't go for it. But most of the community programs are going to be in similar areas. So what is the guarantee that you will match at a top tier city in a top tier location? So just wait on that. And we will send information on the Hackensack for those of you who need. Okay, is it difficult to match in SOAP for preliminary? No, so for preliminary is actually easier. So if you got interviews for advanced, I think prelim SOAP is easier to match into. Okay. All right, that was all 30 minutes. So thank you, everyone. We'll have other webinars where we will answer your questions, but good luck.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope that video provided valuable insights for your journey. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And check out our website for details on how we can guide you to a successful match.